Welcome to the Got Academy podcast.
Hi everybody! Hi Mallory! Hi again! How are you doing?
Hey. Good. It's been so long since we last talked.
So long, yes. So much fun to have you here on again to talk about all kinds of linguistic stuff through stories. And this time you have some thoughts about Tarantino and Chernobyl from a linguistic point of view. Am I right?
Right. Words. Syntax. Yeah, like it's syntax, it's semantics. I got it all here. Like
So exciting. Are you excited getting into this?
heck yeah, I really live for linguistic analysis and just overthinking movies in general. It's something I do naturally.
There was nothing sane about Chernobyl.
After Game of Thrones, I have to admit, it felt a little bit like, like you were saying, you've been seeing somebody very seriously for a very long time, and it did not work out well for you, and so you're just but this new series comes along, and it's nice, and it's it's fun, and it's really smart, and but you're just like.
But now I'm dating several people at the same time.
I'm pleased to report that the situation in Chernobyl is stable.
I wanted to get your thoughts on Chernobyl.
Loved it.
I loved it too.
Maybe the English accent that all the Russians are talking with.
Oh yeah, that was so funny. Yeah, I listened to. Well, I was on Twitter and I saw somebody tweet, and they're like Valerie Legasov, and it's like, oh blimey, the nuclear exploded, right?
Yeah.
I thought that I was talking about it the other day, and I was like, why I think we all like this so much is because it's the perfect Michael Bay movie. Think about it, because the guy who made this made Hangovers Part 2 and 3, and then a couple of other duds, and then he just comes out of the woodwork with Chernobyl, right? And I was really thinking about why is it effective? It draws on the nostalgia, yes, but it also speaks a little bit, maybe, I think, to American patriotism in some ways. It draws this very he just really knows how to kind of tap on the American heart and to be like, hey, the Russians are like you, but they're not Russians, they're Ukrainians, and they're being occupied. So I thought I had a real kind of, I don't think you would call it an issue. It's just, it's not a Ken Burns documentary, and I just wish it was a Ken Burns documentary for the most part. I thought that everybody got it exactly right in the attitude of being a Ukrainian Russian in Pripyat at the time, because especially they really dial it in with the corporate doublespeak of the party, of just something could be wrong, something could not be wrong. But I thought it was really funny that it frustrated my parents a lot, because they're very American and very kind of almost independent in their attitudes, where they're just like, well, I wouldn't take that crap. I would tell that guy right off.
Yeah.
Why did?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Right. Sure, mom. Yeah. You, the nuclear reactor operator, would totally stop this.
Yeah. And does your mom talk back to cops, or did she say yes, sir?
I don't know. Just she's a real spicy individual. So yeah, she could. No, not really. She'd probably be like.
I don't know. American talk back to cops?
No. That's a big no.
Yeah.
It was actually funny. I was on my way down here, and I live about 30 minutes up north in a kind of a pretty mid-sized city, and I was on the street, and I was pulled up, and a cop literally pulls up right next to me, and I'm not doing anything, and I'm just sitting at the light, but I look over, and this cop is looking at me, and I'm just and I you just feel, I think that power is just the dynamics of it are just too skewed not to really do anything.
Yeah.
So would I think that these people would actually,
it's crazy.
Would I think that an American would let this happen? Absolutely. It kind of, yeah.
I've been to quite a few protests in my life, but not in a lot of activist protest where you have some kind of clash with the police. It doesn't have to be really, really violent. So the first time that I was in that kind of protest, I was like blown away. Like the whole dynamics, person-to-person dynamics between me, the protester, and the police was just like something that I've never experienced in my life. Like I was screamed at like for a few inches from my face that I'm going to be arrested because the cop just shoved me, and I like stood and I didn't let myself to be shoved, which I saw that the other more experienced protesters did. When the cops shoved them, they just let themselves to be shoved. They were like Zen-like, moving with the police. It was kind of beautiful to see. But I had this instinct, no, I'm going to stand my ground.
Right.
And I was shouted out, maybe it's a kind of an extreme example, but this power dynamics, no matter if it's a police officer, a party official, whatever it is, you know that you have no recourse, no course of action. If they stop you, they hold all the cards.
Right.
I had this instinct to just like stand my ground also like in terms of language. No, you're not going to speak to me this way. I didn't do anything. But then I was pulled back like, no, what are you doing?
You're right.
No. This is not the way. You don't know this language now. It's different.
I think so too.
The way that we talk to them.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that they do a really good job of showing you that, and just kind of like this, something happens to us when we're confronted like that so abruptly, and almost nobody can almost process, the dimensions of, oh, like, don't worry, I'm gonna get myself out. And I think like what's even more devastating about Chernobyl is that almost like the Soviet Russian language, which is a different variety of Russian than Russian today, was specifically designed to entrap you in words. So everybody kind of stereotypes the Russian as being very quiet, and very like stoic.
Reserved.
Right.
Yeah, stoic.
But there's a reason for that reservation, because it's like by utterance, by participating in the speech act, you've committed to something. You've said what it was. And I think that they did a good job of portraying that. But I think that had they actually done it in the Ukrainian Russian that had been developed and fermented, and it would have been, yes, albeit a much more difficult story to tell, almost an impossible story if you really think about it. But that's what they were trying to tell as a story.
But then you have to translate it for the subtitles also, right? So then you do something anyway.
And he said that he didn't want that. And I understand. Like, he specifically like went into the reasons why. I just thought that like maybe if you did it this way, it would just be more implicit, because the way that they're speaking in English, this is the style of, like, they're speaking English, but it's Soviet Russian style, it's Soviet English basically, like, and Soviet English. That I coined that. That's TM.
That is good.
That's just fantastic. I think I should write a paper on that. No, like to be honest, like one of the papers I hope to write is about maybe some of the roles of television and media and like cultural development, and how we learn and process new languages, and if they help us better learn language. So something like this podcast, maybe it'll help somebody learn English better, or it'll help somebody like learn about English and for their linguistic, purposes, or, it would have to be much more specific, but like.
Wow, you just reminded me that I found recently an article, it's an old one from 2016 it was an interview with an Indian YouTuber or something, or podcaster. And she was asked that how did she start to really get into learning English? And she said that was from watching Got Academy videos.
Really?
I just found it like a few months ago, but that was like from 2016. And that was so interesting how an Indian person learned English from two Israelis speaking English.
It's really magical, I'm starting to learn Japanese now because like I said, I've been rewatching this old show that I used to love, and I watched it in German, and I really like that, but I really was just so taken by like part of it that I was like, okay, you listen to city pop all the time. You really like, a lot of the poetry and literature from the country. Why don't you just sit down and see if you can learn this? So it really kind of gave me this gateway into it. But it was also by just like listening to kind of like non sequitur, music, podcasts, video games, all these things that we take in. I think we latch on because of the interest. And I think if you can just kind of hook it with a little bit of learning in there, that your mind is just going to eat it. Like it, kind of like, I think humans crave outlets to connect with others. I think that's what makes technology such a powerful artifact. It's because it's the ultimate connection to each other without, being too uncomfortably close, because we like people, but we also like being by ourselves. And like we can email each other, but like, again, there's that separation. Like you'll never know, like when, you'll never see my meme folder, like you'll never get my like hot takes on Alf or something. Like I don't know. It's like, but
yeah, you can go over it and change it. You can write it. You can take 3 days writing this message.
What? English, motherfucker? Do you speak it? Yes.
Yeah, dude, Tarantino, man, that's like, he is the monolingual master. He is, I think he might be the movie Shakespeare. Like, he basically wrote the anti-hero in the postmodern sense. I think that he really just is like the number one. There's probably there aren't too many writers out there who I think got him. Like,
sieht so aus, als ob Klein Max als Waise aufwächst. Wie traurig.
Well, if this is it, old boy, I hope you don't mind if I go out speaking to kings.
I don't think he has anything to worry about this year. Like if it was the draft season, he wouldn't have to worry. He's doing fine.
How'd the shooting start?
Englishman gave himself away.
How did he do that?
He ordered 3 glasses. We order 3 glasses. That's the German 3.
About 10 years ago, I saw my first Quentin Tarantino movie in a movie theater. I have to say that Inglourious Basterds is probably one of 3 reasons in movies like why I got into linguistics. So the first one was Hunt for Red October.
There's this bit at the beginning where they switch from Russian as the language they speak in the movie to English, as if it's still Russian, just so we could understand. Oh, yes, I like that movie too.
Nazivaimae Paevriesky Armageddon. And the 7th angel poured forth his bowl into the air, and a voice cried out from heaven, saying, "It is done."
And then probably number 2 was Inglourious Basterds, because I just saw that opening scene, and I was just like, okay, if this is like the enemy, if Hans Landa is the enemy, then I need to get real smart real fast, because like...
And also the way that he switches languages, which at first seems like gratuitous just for the American audience.
Puisque nous sommes ici chez vous, je vous demande la permission de passer à l'anglais pour le reste de la conversation.
Certainement.
Well, I'm very familiar with you and your family. I have no way of knowing if you are familiar with who I am.
Then you learn that he does that for...
You're sheltering enemies of the state, are you not?
Yes.
You're sheltering them underneath your floorboards, aren't you?
Yes.
Since I haven't heard any disturbance, I assume while they're listening, they don't speak English.
Yes.
I'm going to switch back to French now, and I want you to follow my masquerade set clear.
Yes.
Monsieur l'a pas dit.
It's total control. Like, it's control over the room, and I really liked how that was done, and I loved how he catches them in the movie theater. Like the American guys are being totally obvious, like arrivederci, like, but like so like it's already kind of up, but like the woman is holding the fort, and she's getting grilled in this like gala studio by Hans Landa, and he's like, "Oh, you went to the slopes. You went skiing, huh? Really?" And they're like, or the scene in that basement where he's just like, "Oh, well, I skied in that area in Austria, and I'll have you know that people in Austria do not talk like that." And well, the reason why, it's like 3 instead of 3.
Yeah, 3 instead of 3 with the hands. Yeah.
Oh man, I adopted that so quickly. And it's like, but you can really peg a. That's why I really like this movie. He pays very close attention to language and linguistics.
You know the funniest thing about Europe is?
What?
It's the little differences. I mean, they got the same shit over there that they got here, but it's just there. It's a little different.
Example.
It's not just about how somebody talks. It's about literally how you look, how you present yourself, and how you perform your language. So a lot of what we're talking about is in performance.
As your leader, I encourage you from time to time, and always in a respectful manner, to question my logic. If you're unconvinced a particular plan of action I've decided is the wisest, tell me so. But allow me to convince you, and I promise you right here and now, no subject will ever be taboo. Except, of course, the subject that was just under discussion. The price you pay for bringing up either my Chinese or American heritage as a negative is, I collect your fucking head. Just like this fucker here. Now, if any of you sons of bitches got anything else to say, now's the fucking time!
So maybe next time we can like delve into a little bit more detail about like performative language and performative like language learning.
So, okay, let's wrap it up.
Okay.
Mallory, it's been wonderful.
It's been
just like the first time.
It's been really lovely. I really like getting on and talking with you, and I've really been enjoying myself. I'm so happy to be a patron of yours.
Thank
you.
you.
You have something very, very special here, Gil. I really,
Thank you.
And a big thank you to everybody in the community, especially like, those who I've met through your Patreon channel. Everyone is just so sweet, and all the comments are just so informative and positive. It's a really nice experience to go online and to just see passionate content about progressive, thinking but done in such a way where we're all learning and no one feels like they're left behind in a sense. We're completing the American dream.
And that's on the Patreon page. On Twitter, not so much maybe.
Yeah.
But on Twitter, if people want to follow you on Twitter, how can they do that?
So you can follow me at Mallort, Mallort. I
Mallort.
Yep. It's a handle from a mistype I had on a very it's still active Facebook chat. Somebody did it, and I'm pretty klutzy, so it's like Mallort. I liked it.
Because the T is next to the Y.
Yes, exactly. Fantastic.
Yes. Okay. And let's do another conversation about all kinds of linguistic stuff, maybe through some movies or shows. Let's think of something.
We could definitely do that. Yeah. All right. See you later, Gil.
Okay. See you later. Bye, everybody.
Bye.